Hello there and welcome. Welcome to the discussion on Thou Shalt Not Steal, part of a series of talks about the Ten Commandments. And this one is about why it's wrong to steal things and that we should only use things that are permitted for us and why that is. And I'm going to be referring to some notes that I've already pre-prepared for this and then a little short discussion afterwards. I just apologise briefly that my voice might sound a little offbeat and croaky just because I've been a bit under the weather recently. So I apologise about that. And as I say, this is all about the commandment of thou shalt not steal. Use only what is permitted to give it its positive affirmation. Life itself is a gift. None of us earned our rights to be here in the beginning. As newborns, we are given this life as a gift. Many pagans say that our bodies are born from Mother Nature, and that one day our bodies return to nature through the inevitable process of decomposition. Yet many people believe we are more than merely a physical body, that our essence is our soul, or a spirit, or however you might define it. Theologians would assert that our soul is to be returned to God, from whence it came from. In a broad sense, then, we neither own our body nor our soul, because we ourselves did not create either. We can create many things in our lives. Yet all of those things that we used to create had themselves been created before us. They existed before we did. And so, like a chef who makes various recipes by putting and combining different ingredients together, but he builds on the knowledge of earlier chefs before him, and he uses different recipes that already pre-existed. And so it is with many other professions, and indeed with all things when you look closely at them. All of the things that we use to create in our lives have themselves been created. Even our own creations are not entirely ours, therefore. We are given things, or we take things, and then we use them to create something new. In creative writing, this is also true. We use and borrow old myths and ideas, putting old ideas together but in a new way. We inherit various words and ideas from the language community. So however unique and inventive that we strive to be, we are still given those tools to begin with. Obviously, when people work hard to create something, whether it is a recipe or a novel or whatever it be, this particular recreation belongs to its recreator. It belongs to the recreator. For example, if someone has written an essay, we recognise it as their intellectual property, and that if any others attempt to pass off that essay as theirs, it would be classed as plagiarism, which is a kind of theft, especially in academia. Of course, some ideas are so ubiquitous that it would be impossible for anyone to claim total ownership of them. If you consider a picture that is unique to be seen as the property of an artist, it is only because we can recognise the hard work gone into its creation. Yet something like a circle or square, something generic, could not be owned, of course. A piece of art, an essay or sculpture, could be sold or given according to the creator's terms, of course. In life, we are given many things that can be used for good or bad. We must respect people's right to use the things that are given to them, hopefully to benefit themselves and others. Before we consider what is theft, we first need to ask ourselves, what is ownership? What does it mean to own something? In fact, everything we own is only ever temporary. The things they were made from existed before us, and long after our bodies have decomposed, those things will remain in whatever state they change into. So, whilst we can often be in charge of things for a limited time, it is only ever limited. And in the grand scheme of life, what a short time that is. We may indicate where we want our things to go, and this may have some influence on the future for a time. People often inherit things. It's been a long time honoured tradition. Some people inherit homes or land, money, but all of us inherit some things, even if it's just parental genes. We inherit good and bad things. We cannot choose the cards that we are dealt in life, whether we think it's a good hand, a bad one, whether a prince or pauper. We don't choose the cards that we are dealt, but we can choose how we play those cards. Once we become mature enough, we become more responsible for what we do with our gifts. Our gifts may be materials, money, homes, businesses, but our minds and bodies also are our gifts. And we must be cautious how we use them and whether it's to help or harm ourselves and others, and ultimately the world. All of us have a responsibility to use our gifts to better ourselves and the world. Of course, none of us are perfect. We all make some foolish choices, as well as some sensible ones. It can be a burden being poor, as many know, yet it can also be a burden being wealthy. Knowing and learning how to use resources wisely can be a difficult process. In a study of lottery winners, many of the winners had found instant wealth had come with unexpected dilemmas. The idea that it would suddenly give them happiness instantly proved to be a myth. Of course, many of them were able to retire from work they maybe disliked, but then what to do with all the time? Many found ways of spending and investing that benefited themselves and others. Yet there were many that felt uncertain, besieged by begging letters, and uncertain what was a genuine good cause and what was someone trying to take advantage of them. Some felt that people were befriending them only because of the money, meaning they doubted people's motives more, becoming more suspicious. Some argued over what to do with all the money, having very different ideas of how it should be spent. And some ended up funding their addictions, maybe drinking too much or using drugs or various things. Many felt, despite all of the problems, that their lives were still better and were happy with their investments. However, the idea that more money means only a better quality of life neglects the fact that with more rights comes more responsibilities, hence more dilemmas. I knew a couple that were considering giving up their entire house to a group who would take the value of it and use it for a small community that they were running. They were debating whether it was a good idea to pool their resources within this group that they no doubt trusted. They decided, though, in the end, to keep their house because they feared that this was a cult and the money could be misspent. They agreed to keep their home as they could control how it was used better. But yet, this also meant accepting the burden of responsibility, trying to use the home to benefit themselves and also others. There are many different kinds of theft when we look at it. They can range in severity according to how it affects the individual and society as a ripple effect. We tend to think of theft as stealing a material thing, and indeed it is, and that can have a very profound effect in some cases on people, and a small effect on other things. It can range in how it affects someone. To take someone's life savings, of course, could certainly impact their quality of life. To take their transport might prevent them from travelling. Yet many things stolen can have also an emotional effect on us. Taking sentimental items might affect someone's ability to remember events. Taking or stealing a diary or photographs, for example. There are many kinds of serious theft. Rape, in fact, is taking a person's body and using it as if it was our own without consent. And this is a really disturbing kind of theft. It's often not classed as that. But actually, if you're taking and using something without permission, I would classify that quite simply as one of the worst kinds of theft. And severe. It's a very disturbing kind, and it has serious consequences for both the victim and the perpetrator. Our bodies are given to us to house us temporarily in. It is our responsibility to look after it once we've matured from young childhood, and it's our right how we use our body. We must give consent when we work, when we go out, whatever we're serving or doing, or whatever activity, even if it is sexual, it involves us giving consent. Otherwise, there is a crime. Otherwise, it is a type of theft. Our bodies are given to us and are our responsibility. We can't use other people in that way. If we force or coerce people to use their bodies or their minds, this is a severe kind of theft. That includes, but is not limited to, rape. Slavery is another type. The whole process of using a person's body, forcing or coercing them into forced labour. Using something given to someone else as if it was ours. Our bodies and minds are intimately our own in a way that they belong to us, however temporarily. So we all feel repulsed and want to rebel against things abominable like rape or slavery. Even if we may be unable to do so, we feel it is an invasion and something that is wrong. Of course, when we choose to give our body to something or someone, that is different. Then we consent. Then we give our body or we trade it. And this is where the labour market comes in. You decide to work in exchange for payment of money, or something. You consent, and that works well when it's a free choice. We give our bodies and we trade it. And in the case of labour, we give our minds as well in exchange for money, and in turn we exchange the money for other things like food or shelter. Of course, the life of a servant can still be hard graft many times, even risky. But so long as we have willfully consented, it's lawful. In a way, all crimes with real victims can be reduced to a kind of theft. False imprisonment steals a man's time, steals his freedom of movement. A serious assault on someone's body steals a man's ability to function, which can lead to a loss of earnings. Defamation of character steals a man's reputation, either through slander or libel. Psychological abuse or harassment steals a man's mental well-being, and in an extreme case, murder is the stealing of a man's life. The most precious of things we have, besides our soul, is our body and our mind. So we should respect others' rights to their body and their mind, since we would want that also for ourselves.